What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 78 of Let's Build the U.S.S. Voyager tutorial. I'm Zerelite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about just under 18 minutes. We're going to be knocking out the final 2 episodes of this tutorial series. So without further ado, let's kick back, relax. We're going to dive right into this thing. We're going to be picking up where we left off in the last episode, getting in some much needed extra detail into our pylons. So right now, I'm just shifting gears just a little bit as far as the color palette for the front of my impulse engines. And, you know, I've talked about this too. It's what's your flavor, you know? What works best for you, what looks best for you, and do that. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing right here, the change I'm making, if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But, you know, for me, one of my go-tos with my process is I love putting down different combinations just to see how it looks in contrast to what I previously had. And I can't stress it enough, following this step really can help guide you along the way and landing where you need to land on your build if you're having a hard time deciding on it. Now, you know, could make the argument here, well, you know, I'm happy with the red. Well, there's no need to really dive into it more. But as you can see here, there's a ton of combinations that we can use. So really, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters here is that you're doing what works best for you. In this case, I'm just trying to guide you guys along the way and show you different things that you could possibly do on your own build to get it to come out to this level. I found it that making these little changes here and there, it really helps out. And this is one thing I wasn't really crazy about there with the half slabs. I kind of liked it with the carpet a little bit more. I don't know. I think the half slabs might be a little bit too much, because when we zoom out and look at it, you lose a lot of the red in the front. You really can't see it anymore. It becomes really hard to see, and I wasn't crazy about that. But I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal. We can kind of see it there. Alright, so we've got that little bit done. Now we're going to shift gears over to the undercarriage of our pylons, and we're just going to be getting in a little bit more detailing done. What we're going to start out with is just getting the underside of our impulse engines going. Because really what I want, well, let me rephrase, what I want to avoid, I don't want to have a flat belly on Voyager. I want there to be just a little bit more detail, and we're just going to use what we have, essentially. We're not going to do anything super crazy. And if you don't think the length that I'm doing on the underside is working, I mean, look, there's a couple of things that you can do here to make it work. You could either count out the top side length of the impulse engines as they go forward, but in this case, I'm just trying to bring something out just to give a little bit of detail on the underside, and I'm calling it a day. I'm not trying to do a ton more than that. Just want to give the impression that, you know, maybe just maybe that the impulse engines do in fact carry over to the underside, and it's just not above. That's looking pretty good. Now the only problem that we're going to have now is, since we're adding this, now there's going to be a lot more, I think for me anyway, a need to add a little bit more detailing on the underside, just again so we don't have that whole flatness going. So I kind of want to do some more going in the upper areas of the underside of the pylons, just to give it a little bit more detail, because right now it's just kind of plain. In the middle there with that V, I think that's looking pretty good. I don't think we really need to touch that a little bit more, but just on the sides here, it's just a little plain. I think it needs a little something. And you know, you might be thinking like, well, what can I do? There's a couple of things that we can do here, but one of the easiest things that I always say, stick to your design cues. Look around what we've added specifically in this areas to help inspire us if you don't have that point of reference to go off of. Also, again, make this easier for yourself, not harder. Pull up those reference photos that we grabbed in the start of this tutorial and look at the bottom sections of Voyager to see what details we can pull from that to add in. Now again, for me, I don't want to overdo it, because less is more sometimes. You don't want to make it too loud. You know, something that I do see from time to time where I'll see these skins essentially for the ships, and they have so much stuff added on that it's just one thing piled on top and piled on top and piled on top, and you really kind of start to lose some of that detailing. So all I'm trying to say is pick and choose what you want to add. Maybe add it a little bit gingerly, because you might surprise yourself as far as doing a little bit less. At least in my opinion, 9 times out of 10 ends up looking a little bit better than when you just go ham and add in a whole ton of stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be there. Because you can make a lot of arguments with this stuff. Like again, you know, remember we talked about this watching Voyager when it originally came out, or Star Trek The Next Generation when it originally came out. We couldn't really see all these Aztecings. Nobody had a super high definition TV. So this is something that we really never saw unless we're really, really close up to it or in promotional photos. So all I'm trying to get at here is that you can get away with stuff like this here and there. But you know, you have to pick and choose what's going to work in the area for what you're trying to add. And in this case right here, it needs a little bit of something in the front of the pylon. And to be honest with you, I'm just kind of using what I got. If I recall correctly, when I was doing this, I know that I did look at reference photos for the underside of Voyager, but I also added in a few bits of my own detail that I just thought that worked. And again, you know, you can get away with stuff like this. Now, one thing I do want to add here on the front of the underside of the pylons is I want to strengthen up that underline. So you can see I'm going 2 back with our cut, because I don't want it to be all the way up on it. And we're just going to bring that over, and we're going to stop 1 block shy when we get to that white concrete block. Very, very simple, very, very easy to do. So I say, when you break these processes down like this into step by step, this whole thing can become very, very easy when you do it that way. Usually it's when you start thinking of the whole of the build as a whole where it starts to become a little bit intimidating, because you're trying to think of like, oh wow, how in the heck am I going to build Voyager out like this? And I'm hoping that I've done a decent enough job with this tutorial showing you guys how to do it. I've given you guys my best here. But, you know, with that being said, there's always going to be room for improvement for me. This is an ongoing learning experience. So if there are things that you guys see that I can improve upon, hey, don't be afraid to tell me. All I ask is just don't be a jerk about it. That's the one thing that I don't like, where you have these people where they try to get the shock value comments and they're so mean about it, but then they come back and they don't understand why you don't want to talk to them. And they're like, I don't understand what the problem is. I'm just giving you a shock value response. And it's like, well, put yourself on the other end of that, where you have somebody screaming at you, cussing you out. But then they're like, oh, well, I'm just trying to be funny. Like, there's nothing really funny about that. I don't know. Maybe it's, I never thought I'd say this, but maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. But no, seriously, if you guys do have any suggestions on what you think I can do to improve, let me know. But this is an ongoing thing for me, and I try to really learn from my mistakes and improve as far as my process. And I do think that I'm getting better with this. Comparing Voyager to some of my first tutorials that I've done, I feel like this is like night and day. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up after Voyager. You know, we've got one more episode to go, and then after that, we're going to be diving into the Excelsior 2 class. Now, on top of that, we've also got the Enterprise A 2.0 tutorial. We're like right there. We're about like 30 subscribers away from 1,000. So, whenever that happens, the Enterprise A tutorial, that's going to be coming out too. So, I'll more than likely have 2 tutorials running at the same time, which is going to be crazy. I'm not sure how I'm going to make it work, but I will figure out a way to, because I promised that I would. But I think that more than likely what's going to happen, because looking at my calendar, Voyager will conclude this week. Next week, those of you in the States, we've got Christmas week coming up, and then we've got New Year's. So I'm expecting the Excelsior to start at around the 2nd of 2025. I have very, very little that I have to do on it. Those of you that saw the tour episode of my Enterprise A, you got a teaser of the Excelsior. If you want to see a more detailed photo of where it's currently at, you can go on my Discord. There's very little of the outside I have left that I have to do. I have to finish the outside area of the shuttle bay, and I have to finish some detailing in around the backside of the neck and where the impulse engines are, and then I have to close in the bridge area. Once I do that, the Excelsior will be done, and then we're going to dive right into it. I want to wait until I get to that point, because I want to be able to put out a tour episode to show you guys exactly what it's going to be, so you know what you're going to be getting yourselves into once we start the tutorial. And I want a clear representation of what that's going to be and not what it could be. So these are the reasons now why I wait to put out my tutorials. But I promise you guys, I have no intention of taking a big break. I think it's just how it's going to end up working out, because the way Voyager's ending, and then we've got the holidays. I'm trying to get the Excelsior done. There is the chance I might be able to get it done sooner, and if I do, I'll put it out. But I think a clear expectation would be for the first week of 2025, for that Thursday the 2nd. That will really, at that point, give us a 2-week gap. And if I do end up getting it done sooner, what I might end up doing at that point is I'll put out the tour episode before that, so we'll still have some content for 2024, which will be cool. But you know, there's so much stuff coming up. I'm excited to get through these builds. You know, it feels like for a couple of years now I've been talking about Voyager and the Enterprise D and the Enterprise A. So it's just really cool for me to finally check Voyager off as a ship that I've been able to put out another tutorial for. We've got the Excelsior, the Enterprise A, and don't forget, we've got the Enterprise D Season 2 coming up. got a lot of cool stuff for you guys on Season 2 that you may not be expecting. We're not going to be rebuilding anything. Anything that we did in Season 1 will be on the ship. So I'm not looking to do any type of rehash. I think that would be a cop-out. That's not what I want to do. I want to focus on new content. So Season 2 essentially is going to pick up where Season 1 left off and trying to finish off the things that I intended to do, on top of adding in some upgrades to the ship to fix some things, and then adding in some visual cosmetics, fixing the well, not fixing, but adding in a rust skin for the outside of the ship to make it closer match how it looked in Picard Season 3. And then we're also going to be adding in a cosmetic appearance for the corridors in the lower section of the ship to make it feel more like we're actually on the Syracuse and have that differentiation between the saucer section and then the star drive of the ship. But, you know, that's what we've got going on right now. There's always the possibility. Isn't that what they say in Star Trek? There's always possibilities. And what would you like to see me build? Drop a comment below. Go on the Discord. Be sure to drop a comment under the Build Suggestions tab. If you don't have access to the Discord, just make sure to put it in YouTube, and I will post it in the Discord for you. The reason I do it this way is because it's easier for me to keep track of it, and then also the community can go on my Discord and upvote the builds that they want to see. And there's a few that I've got on the horizon. I've got one that I'm currently working on. I've been building, I've started working on Wayne Manor, and not even the house itself. I'm just working on the landscaping at this point. But that's going to be something that I want to do, because, you know, my channel is not just Star Trek. It's anything pop culture, nerd related that I can get into. You can probably expect that I'm going to do it. So definitely a bunch of cool stuff to check out. And when you go on the Discord, also look at my upcoming projects, because you can see everything that I'm currently considering making. Now, one thing to consider with that is I'm not committing to something until it shows up on my current projects. So for whatever reason, if you do see that I have a build on there, my upcoming projects, and then it vanishes, more than likely I consider doing it, and then for one reason or not, I just decided I'm either not going to do it right now or I'm not going to do it. So just everything on the upcoming projects is stuff that I intend to do. Everything on the current projects is everything that I've committed to doing. Hopefully that makes sense. But no, I love the Discord. It makes it a lot easier for me to be able to engage with the community and share my stuff and everything. And one of the things I've been doing too, I've actually been going in, like, the concept art and everything that I use per build, I be sure to include it on that ship build tab, so this way you guys have access to what I have access to. So I think that'll be pretty cool too, and you'll hear me talking more about that in the future as we go. Now, I know I've been rambling on, but to be honest with you, there's really not a lot that I have to explain here. Because, again, I'm just using my design cues. The angle that we're going on the sides here, I took that from this. And I just made a decision adding in these panels. I think this is actually kind of close to how it is on the underside of Voyager, or maybe I used a reference of it to get this idea. But it needed that. What we can do now is that we're going to fill in this. You could either do white concrete, you could do quartz, whatever works for you. The white concrete might actually look pretty good and give it a little bit of contrast. And then also go with the underside here of the impulse engines. That could look cool. But I do think that's going to wrap it up for us today. I just want to thank you guys again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And if you do have any questions regarding today's episode, just dropping by to say hey, or any builds you want to see, be sure to drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody. But I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Post your photos in the Discord so everyone can see them.